Brett and Melissa Wilson describe how it's about gratitude. It's about appreciation for our ability to ride because of how much we just love it. Today we continue with part 2 of our conversation with Brett and Melissa as we find ourselves amazed by the parallels between motorcycling and horseback riding. Both transport us physically, yes, but also emotionally and spiritually, as they'll describe. We're calling this Views from the Saddle. So welcome to part 2. Thank you so much for joining me today. Recorded in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Welcome to Peace Love Moto, the podcast for motorcyclists seeking that peaceful, easy feeling as we cruise through this life together. Are you ready? Let's go. So now let's get back to Views from the Saddle, our conversation and the conclusion of our visit with Brett and Melissa Wilson.
You just kind of be with that thing that brings you so much joy, and it's almost good enough. I mean, it's not quite, but it's that appreciation that it's like, wow, now not that you ever take it for granted, but you just realize how much you miss it and how much you love it.
Even as kids, I grew up, I started taking horse lessons when I was 10. I got my first horse when I was 11. My dad said, you build this electric fence around these 2 acres and we'll get a horse. And they did. They were true to their word and they did. I spent all summer building that, putting it in. At 11 years old, and we would both, one of our favorite sounds, what's so cool about horses is that they're so sensual. They hit all the senses. One of our favorite sounds is, besides walking and trotting and galloping, each of those has its own rhythm. Walk is a
right,
trotting is a, and a lope or a canter is da-da-rump, da-da-rump, da-da-rump. Was that right?
Yeah.
We were talking about how those sounds kind of really stimulate us, but one of our all-time favorite sounds is pulling grass with their teeth and then just chewing. And it's quiet. There's nothing else. They tear the grass. We've laid on the ground since we were kids. Even now we do it. We'll lay on the ground next to them and just listen to that. It's a sense. It fills your senses. It's amazing.
This is a real living thing.
Yes.
We got it bad,
sure
Ron. We got it bad.
Relate to that.
Me too. The thing I was reminded of, because we're both have shared, Melissa, you and I both have talked about the health issue that we both faced there. How fortunate, how blessed we are to have the physical capabilities to ride. So many people can. And
I think about that all the time. I think about people who can't even go on a walk or a hike, or you know what I mean? And I think about that a lot, that I want to stay healthy and I want to stay fit and I want to stretch and be able to get on a horse and do that until I'm 80.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so important to take care of yourself so you can do these things you love, because so many people, I don't know, I mean, maybe they don't have the passion of doing stuff like that, but they're not able to.
Yeah. Never take it for granted.
Oh, I know. It can happen so fast. Just like my little hand injury, everything's going great.
Yes.
I bring down
be taken away from you in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. Then I hurt my hand, and next thing you know, I'm off the bike for 4 months, 2 surgeries, and no fun at all. No fun at all. But
I know.
I came back though with a new appreciation for the ability to go out to that, what I call my gift in the garage, and to go out and go for a ride. That's just, I just consider that just a tremendous gift.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, Ron. So I was just saying how much I love the sound of the horse, all the different sounds they make. We didn't even talk about their little nicker when you come out, and they'll greet you with a or whatever, I'm sure those sounds, there's something about that when you turn the throttle and all that. Does that affect you too?
Yes, most definitely. So in full transparency, right now I have 4 motorcycles in the garage, which is 3 too many. But I do have 4 motorcycles in the garage. They're 4 very different bikes. So for my listeners who know their motorcycles, I have a Honda Goldwing GL 1800. That's the one I rode to Alaska and all over BC and stuff. Big, comfortable. It's a car on wheels, right? It's a 6-cylinder. It runs like a car. It's engine-wise. So it has its own feel and so forth. I also have a two Triumphs. One is a Triumph Bonneville, 2-cylinder, and then I have a Triumph Scrambler also, which has a similar engine, but it's tuned differently. And then finally, I have a bike that I just got, which is a BMW GS R1250 Adventure, big, massive adventure bike. And it has just 2 cylinders also, but they're big. They're big. So the reason I point that out is all 4 of those bikes, even though the 2 Triumphs are similar, very, very different as far as the sound, as far as what the vibrations are as you go down the road. And I gotta tell you, this BMW, I have wanted one from afar for a long time, ever since the Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman series called Long Way Down, Long Way Round, and Long Way Up series came out, where they rode BMWs on 2 of those series. I was admiring those from afar, and as I investigated, people would talk about the engine. It's that Boxer engine, which is this classic engine. And as I've only had this bike about 5 weeks now, I guess, well over 5,000 miles. So I've been putting on some miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't mess around.
Yeah. I've already run through my first tire. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that what everybody was saying is true. Going down the road, like in the open highway, RPMs at about 4,000 RPMs, something like that. It has this airplane feel, which is like a B-52. That's how I would describe it. And it has this rumble and this feel, which is just magical. It's just like flying. And that's what we get out of motorcycling anyway, too. It's when you turn right, you're going to lean right, just like an airplane. And so forth. It's the airplane feel, and that's what I loved about 2-wheel transportation. But it's that Boxer engine that I absolutely love. Now, of course, I'm going to be mentioning this if I get the opportunity to interview someone from BMW, which I hope to do pretty soon. I'll be certainly promoting that bike. Now, do I love my Triumphs? Oh, yeah. Love my Triumphs as well, because I have a British background myself anyway, and they are British bikes. But and the Goldwing was very, very good to me. I had 2 Goldwings, so very good bikes. But as far as the feel of wow, this is a glorious move down the highway, that's the BMW, at least for me right now. I wanted to ask you too about let me just kind of jump around here a little bit about meeting people. What I've shared on this podcast, and it kind of gets back to the second word in the name of the podcast. So you got the peace of mind, love for yourself, but love for other people, love for strangers, and how we can express those. I've described it any number of times, and my guests have too, that just being an approachable looking dressed person on a motorcycle, people will come up and talk to you, strangers. So when I was out with my brother-in-law, Jim, out riding around Moab and our journey between here and there, lots of people came over at the gas stations, at parking lots. Are there parallels there with horseback riding? When you are out on the trail, maybe a hiker coming, does that turn into a, hey, can I talk to you type of thing?
Sometimes not so much on the trail, but like I noticed, because I just went out like a week ago, but usually in the parking lot. When you are at a parking lot that is shared with other hikers and bikers, and you have your horse out and you're tacking up, and people just are like, oh, that's so cool. And then they, we've had several people want to come up and talk to us, or usually the kids are like, oh, can I pet your horse?
It's the kids.
And then pretty soon you just strike up conversations with people. And, most people that are out in nature, hiking, biking, whatever, are pretty nice people. We're all there for the same reason, but it opens up because to them, it's just like, wow, these are your horses. You're bringing them out here. Like, yeah, it's fun.
And you can see the wonder in their eyes. And on the trail, you do see the kids. It doesn't open because it's usually a narrow trail and they have to step aside, or we step aside for them. You don't have that opportunity to just talk because we're moving, Right. But yes, we just got back from, in June, we got back from a horse camping trip in South Dakota to Mount Rushmore, rode up to Rushmore and back down to the camp. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was
4 days. We stayed at the campground with other horse people. How many were there?
Yeah, it was
about
a horse
30 camp sites, 24, 30. And those are the nicest people. And from all over the country. And yeah, that really opens up a whole different, because you have time to share experiences and you just see that same love and admiration.
And people are so loving and giving. Like when we were on the trail that went up to Rushmore, my horse stepped over a log and kind of got like a sharp piece of something in his leg, and it got cut. And immediately, like in camp later, this woman came up and she's like, "Oh, I've got this, I've got that. Let me help you." And then the next couple of days, she was checking in.
She bandaged him up.
She was just she was so kind. Like I felt like it's okay, I can do this. But she wanted to just offer her love and her care. I mean, she was so warm. And so many people were like that there.
And we had a little situation that could have been dangerous. And one guy came up to me, we'll have another camper in the campsite that was kind of scaring everybody and then ended up being gone. But this guy came up to me and he said, "You know what?" Because we were the youngest ones there, I think, just about, except for
most people were kind of like older and retired and
retired. Yeah. And he came up to me I think he had a cowboy hat on. He was very reassuring. And he said, "You don't have to worry in a place like this." He said, "Most of these guys are retired vets, and he pointed to his side. He said, "They'll take care of you." It is a very safe place to be if anybody's trying to pull in shenanigans. So it's just, you get to see a lot and meet a lot of really cool people that way.
Yeah, it's a great way to connect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the same thing with motorcycling. It's this little bit of uniqueness that you have there. And again, if you give the appearance of being approachable, and what I would consider not approachable is someone who just looks a little scary or whatever, and maybe their bike's
scary,
super loud, and they came up playing, something, and they've got curse words written all over their shirt or tattooed. Well, that's somebody I'm certainly not going to talk to, but that's just me. But I think I think maybe I mentioned this in a previous podcast too, but what thrills me, at least from my saddle, is occasionally when you're going down the highway or something, and you just glance at the car, maybe that you're right next to or about to pass, or they're going to pass you, and in the back seat's a little kid, and they're looking at you, and they go like this. You go back, and very well they're telling mom and dad, "Hey, he just waved at me."
So true.
It's connection. It's connection, isn't it?
Yep, it is.
It is. And what I share too is that little things like that, showing kindness how we can from the road, like not following somebody too close, little things like that.
Yeah. Hopefully,
we're passing along a message that that may be a nice guy, or that may be a nice gal that's on that motorcycle.
Right.
Maybe I'll be a little bit more conscious when I'm around them. Maybe I won't follow them so close or something.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Respect.
Yeah. Respect.
Yeah. I have another question for you. And I think you've mentioned that you can, or maybe you didn't. I was going to ask you, can you ride horses in Rocky Mountain National Park, and do you?
Oh, yes, we have many a time.
One of our favorite places to ride when it's not crowded. So 85% of the trails, I don't know if people know this or not, 85% of those 360 miles of trail are rideable. Horses are allowed on, I should say. I shouldn't say are rideable. There are some that even we would take them on because of the cliffs or the heights or just the rockiness. You want to be careful of your horse. But yes, absolutely. And that's a beautiful place to ride.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, we like to hike, but we've gone back pretty far to places that I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to spend the entire day hiking back here, but doing it on a horse, not so bad.
Long Lake is a 6-mile ride, but the first mile is just straight uphill, almost back and forth switchbacks. And that was one that so much more fun to ride and trot along. You can trot once you get up to, up above that first mile. You can trot right along the stream and it's kind of sandy. So, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful ride all the way back to the lake there. That high, almost alpine lake.
And of course, you have to watch out for a little bit of wildlife. We haven't come across anything too bad, but there was a moose one time, and moose scare me. I don't, just because they can be so aggressive,
and they're so big,
scares me.
Right?
And they're so big, but
horses aren't. The horses don't mind the elk so much, but they don't. the moose.
Yeah. So we did come upon a moose. And we, you'd think we would have been scrambling for our phones, our camera, something, but we were just kind of like,
and the horse's ears are straight up and forward, and their nostrils are big.
It's like, what's gonna happen?
We look over at each other, our mouths are open wide, and
it's kind of like, well, what do we do? And then we just kind of kept going, but
and I had just bought a new camera when this happened, to a video camera.
Oh yeah,
and I would have and it was on me. I would have loved to have gotten it, but I didn't even think about that at all. We were just in the moment because of the moose.
But that is cool up there to see stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was thinking about occasionally when I've led tours up there, maybe you've seen this too, Brett, where a group of horses, led by a guide, a whole group of tourists are coming along, some in their short pants and tennis shoes, Mm-hmm. And we know, even I, as little as I know about horses, I know, don't do it in shorts. Don't.
You go shake your leg.
I'm reminded.
There's a reason cowboys wear caps.
Yes, exactly. I'm reminded of a sign, and I wrote it down here because I remember what the sign said, and I don't remember if it was outside of a stable at Rocky or Nestus or where it was, but I thought it was so perfect. It said something like, if you like to ride slow, we have slow horses. If you like to ride fast, we have fast horses. If you don't like to ride, we have horses that don't like to be ridden.
That's awesome.
I love that. I don't remember where I saw it, but it stuck with me.
Ron, I love that.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we've had horses that don't like to be ridden.
Horses like that.
I guess where I was going with that is that I think so many of our guests, that come into Rocky Mountain National Park from other places, they'll do a horseback riding tour, and I've heard wonderful things about that. That with that opportunity to be on an animal into nature, so it's just nature and nature. Is there, in your experience, would you say there's a significant difference, or maybe not so much of a difference, between having your own animal that you're just, it's just you two, as opposed to following a guide on an animal who's just used to following the tail in front of it?
Such a difference.
Yeah, Melissa, when you were, how old were you when you did your first trail ride? Because you bugged your dad, I remember.
I don't know, 5, 6, why?
Because and then older, you wanted to go.
Oh yeah, it's, if that's all you do and that's all you know and that's all you have, it's great. But when you have the control, when you have your own horse, you can go as fast as you want, where you want, how you want. And so if I ever do, there's been times I've gone on trail rides when families come up or something and done, an operation where you all just nose to tail. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
A couple of years ago, right after COVID, she got to, during the summertime, teachers get the summer off. She got to wrangle for Sylvandale Guest Ranch.
Oh, that's true.
That was one of her favorite
things. Yeah, Sylvandale's a good place.
Oh, fun. I was ready to quit my teaching job.
And she had people that wanted to go and others that were like, not feeling safe. There's a whole variety.
But it's different when you're the one leading it, because you really are connecting with the guests and you're chatting with them and you're enjoying them. So it is a different element. There's a different element to it and kind of a different purpose,
Yeah.
It's more about the people. So when you're all in a group, it's about the community and the people, and you're having this experience together, which is fun. And when there's just two of you, you're together, but it's more about, nature and seeing everything and getting your horse to get up and go. And, it's just a different experience.
Ron, you asked good questions, because you got me thinking about you were asking about the moose, all right, so it's you and your horse and another animal. In fact, we've come across a mountain lion before.
I've never seen never have.
Not in Rocky. It wasn't in Rocky. It was on Soderbergh Trail in the evening, and the horses knew it was there. They could smell it, and that was a little scary. And we trotted all the way back to the trailer in the dark, because we had just seen that mountain lion drinking at a a
and it paralleled us all the way back to the trailer.
You could see it about 40
really?
yards off. Yes. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
It was, all you're thinking is, I got to hold on to my horse, and I got to. So there's that element of, it's not just you and your horse. It's not just you and your horse and people, which is another element. It's you and your horse and a totally different animal that, it again makes you alert and aware and appreciative of life. For sure.
Yeah.
Well,
but good questions.
That's where I was thinking about circling back from the beginning. I know, Brett, you and I and Melissa, we certainly love nature. We know that what we see out there is a gift from the Creator. I'll just say it. It is a gift from the Creator.
Absolutely.
And a gift for us to have the physical capabilities and the money to live here and to be able to go out there anytime we want to. What a gift that is. And I just can't help but think that to myself, I don't know how and why I've been blessed in such a way that I have my motorcycles in the garage. You have the horses out there, and we have this opportunity out here. And I think if we can do anything right, that is to say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, God, for this gift.
Absolutely.
In our garage and in your barn, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We never take it for granted. I can say that safely, that you know that there's a Creator when you're out there, and it gives you a good sense of peace and purpose, because if there's a design, there's a designer, and boy, does he know how to design. Those motorbikes didn't design themselves. Somebody designed them. These horses, these animals, beauty was not just by accident. There's a reason, and we're here to enjoy it and share it with others. And that's what I love about you and your podcast, Ron. You as a tour guide, you as a human being, make me feel alive. I just wanted to say this. You are a real person. I think of the Gary Larson Far Side cartoon that shows two really goofy looking people, a guy and a gal, with really both of them are taller than everybody else in the room, and everybody else looks, quote, normal. And the caption is, suddenly from across the room, their eyes met. And that's how I feel. I just feel you are an alive guy. You and I are both just goofy enough, but it's more that you are alive and you're aware and awake.
Yeah, we call it awake. You're awake.
Yeah, and I appreciate that about you so much, my friend. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys too. I think we're following similar paths. And I think, again, if we're doing anything right, we realize we don't have all the answers. We are not in control at all. We're just lucky to be here.
That's
exactly.
Or what's the expression? I'm just happy to be here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Oh, so true.
I want to thank Melissa. It's so nice to meet you during this interview this evening for the first time. Brett, great to be back with you again, brother. I so appreciate you both. So that the listeners will know, before we started recording, I got my wife here on camera so that we could see each other, the four of us, all at one time. And we're talking about connecting because we live relatively close. But again, I appreciate you both. Thanks for the good work that you're doing on Mountain Zen Den. Do you mind giving a plug for Mountain Zen Den and the other projects that you're working on?
Thank you. Yeah, there's a great episode. I wish I remembered which number it was, where I interviewed this fellow Jeep tour guide named Ron Francis, and he's on there too. It's Mountain Zen, connecting with nature for mindfulness and personal growth. We've taken a little hiatus from that as I've been working on my audiobook company. It's still there, all 136 episodes, and I just recently interviewed Eric Stensland, a wonderful nature photographer up in Estes Park. We're getting ready to release that one, so you can check that out shortly. But it's mountainzenden.com, very easy, ZENDEN.com. Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that.
So my wife, and as we were talking before the recording, my wife and I in the evenings will typically go out on the patio, start a little fire. We have a little fireplace outside, and we listen to podcasts. And yours is one of the podcasts we listen to. It's just
thank you.
Nice.
Wow.
Thank you both for all you do, and thanks so much for being on the podcast.
You too.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Ron. Blessings to you.
Well, I'm so grateful for that visit with Brett and Melissa. When I'm asked what the Peace Love Moto podcast is all about, sometimes I just say, it's about joy. It's about the joy we feel doing what we love to do, just being out there riding, and sharing a smile with a stranger along the way. Yeah, it's just as simple as that. Well, as always, thank you for spreading the news about the podcast. You can simply Google the words Peace Love Moto Podcast and you'll probably find it, or go to peacelovemoto.com. Again, thank you for joining me today. Until we meet again, I wish you peace. I wish you love.